we are in a very new spot, in a new setting, new filming setup. I have finally moved all my knitting machine and my desk downstairs, so I'm no longer filming from the living room, which has made my options so much more vast. We actually didn't do one of these last month, so no everything I made in January video, just because I took kind of some time out over January and just slowed things down and really thought about the things that I wanted to make in 2024. So this month has been the first month of more makes, more sort of trying to be more intentional with the things I make, and yeah, I thought we'd run through them together and kind of chat about the things I have made, the things that were sort of good, some things that might have not been so good. So I have all of my items here. They're all stacked up, so it is still a pretty good stack of things that I've made. I will definitely be able to run through them fairly quickly. Starting off, actually, I wanted to share one project that I made in January, which I didn't really get a chance to speak about yet, and is a commission that I made based on one of my dresses. Now, I made a dedicated video actually which showing the process of me making it on my knitting machine, but then haven't really sort of spoken about it afterwards. So the dress was a commission piece, and I hadn't really made one of those maxi dresses since over probably a year ago, and I was really excited to revisit and give it another go. And honestly, it turned out to be so much easier and quicker than a year ago, which is probably based on the fact that I have since then made so many projects on my knitting machine and I'm so much more experienced now. The colours and sort of the pattern layout was all decided by the person that commissioned me. It was really nice to have that sort of collaborative experience with them together, and I thought it turned out really nicely. It was nice to do something based on someone else's vision. Me personally, I don't wear a lot of pink, so the pink was very overwhelming for me as like a piece that I probably wouldn't wear necessarily, but I was really happy with it. It just turned out exactly how they did back in the day. So that also shows that the instructions that I write down and sort of the patterns that I write down for my projects are working, they are correct, and I can apply them later down the line. They're not patterns that I would feel confident sharing with anyone. It's very much written in my own sort of scribbles. That was just a really nice one that I wanted to share as well, that I kind of did in January. Then the first project that I made in Feb was this vest, and I honestly started off so well making this one. I'm so happy with it. It was the perfect sort of mix of freehand and using a pattern. So I started this off completely based on my own measurements and sort of my own techniques. For the first time ever, I did the Italian cast on, which completely changed the game for me. I'm obsessed with this cast on and the cast off method as well. It just makes it so perfect. I used a drops pattern for the decreases around the arm and the decreases on the back and the front, and then I just kind of did my own thing, casting on sort of the ribbing around the arms and the neckline. But I'm so chuffed. The length of this is perfect, the boxy fit of this is perfect. I'm obsessed with the neckline ribbing here. It is really nice and stretchy, but it bounces back into itself, and it just sits exactly how I want a vest to sit. And this might not seem so groundbreaking because it genuinely is just a vest, but for me this is massive because I've always wanted to make vests. I've tried it a few times since sort of picking up knitting, and I've never managed to get it right, and this is the first time I did it, and it's literally perfect. Unfortunately, I'm gonna give this away to my mum. She actually picked up the yarn for this, so this is going to her, but I will 100% be repeating this. I'm thinking about sort of a royal blue in these type of blue tones I'm completely obsessed with at the moment, so that would be literally perfect. One of my goals obviously for this year was to make more basics, more practical items, and this is genuinely perfect. And I weirdly wasn't bored. I really enjoyed the process of making it. It was really satisfying, and it was worked up so quickly, so definitely one to keep doing throughout the year. Then Valentine's Day approached, and I was planning to redo one of my projects from last year, sort of this crochet vest that I made, and I wanted to adapt it to a bit more of a Valentine's theme. Additionally, one of my goals again for 2024 was to be more experimental with my granny squares, and I've been eyeing up this specific granny square flower pattern that I wanted to do, so I thought I'd just mash those two ideas together and turn it into this project, which honestly did turn out really well. It's just incredibly tedious to be making these. I think I ended up making maybe like 6 60 flowers. But the good thing that I did this time, which I didn't do last time, was attaching them as I went along. So once the project was finished, all I had to do was sort of weave in the ends, but I didn't have to attach anything, which is really, really handy. Now, since making this, I have thought about something not being quite right. And I think when I made this project, I wore this really big white oversized t-shirt that I borrowed from my boyfriend, and I thought if I wear an oversized t-shirt underneath when I'm trying on the project, I'll know how I want it to sit with a loose item underneath. I think now I made the dip here too big, and I think I need to add another row of flowers in there so that it doesn't dip so low, because when I try it on now over a smaller piece or just like a crop top, it just falls really, really weirdly. So I definitely will need to adapt this a little bit until it's perfect, and I think it will also eliminate this problem that I'm having where the flowers are kind of folding over. Hopefully I can then also fix that at the same time. Yeah, I'm so chuffed that I just went for it, because again, like, I'd been eyeing up those flowers and been wanting to make them, and at the end of the day, you're just gonna have to crack on and make the project. Then we actually get to one of my latest videos that I posted where I made 5 items in 1 week. It's kind of a challenge based video that I made maybe last summer for the first time. I really enjoyed the process because it got me to finally create some projects that I might have previously wanted to make for a really long time but just hadn't set aside the time to make them. I thought it was time again to do that challenge and work on some projects that I've been eyeing up for a really, really long time, but that are kind of smaller and don't really have that much of a purpose, so I didn't really end up making it, but I just couldn't get out of my head. So one of the first things that I made, which just really like took off on TikTok, which is, I love that. I'm so happy about that. It is this granny square hood, and I really didn't have super high expectations because I'm really funny with headwear. I'm really funny with balaclavas. They just don't sit right or they're too tight. But then I've kind of recently sort of come round to it. I've bought a really nice dark blue, sort of royal blue balaclava in the Urban sale, and I really, really actually love wearing that. So I thought, you know, maybe I've changed my mind. Maybe I'm coming round to it. So I made this using the lead up to the pack yarn from Hobbycraft, which I just won't stop going on about because I love it so much. It's so thick, it's so fluffy. So I kind of loosely followed the pattern that I found on this blog, but then kind of adapted it a little bit to my measurements. I ended up making this square a lot bigger and adding a sort of scalloped edge around, and then I just did the scarf, which actually I didn't attach very evenly, but I don't really mind, and it's just perfect. I think I was definitely very lucky that I used this blue colour because it does feel so nice to wear. I really do love this colour scheme on me. This is definitely going to be my colour for the year. More blue, 100%. But yeah, I posted a video of this on my TikTok, and it's just sometimes, weirdly, some videos do really, really well on there, and that was just one of them. And people have been begging me for a pattern, and I didn't want to make a dedicated tutorial for it because I have been using a blog pattern myself, so I didn't really want to like rip off anyone's work or take credit for something that wasn't originally my idea. But I did think, because I had made some modifications in terms of the sizing, I just thought I would make a TikTok sort of crochet along, not super detailed tutorial, and just put the instructions in the caption. So I posted that. If you want to have a look and recreate this, it will be on my TikTok. I have then also, because I wanted to make sure that my instructions were correct, made a couple more of them, also just based on the fact that I'm literally obsessed with making them. I think they are so nice. So I made this one, which I haven't sewn in any of the ends yet. I will be doing that at some point, but I made a green and blue version, so instead of the black I used the green, and I kind of changed it up a little bit. I changed my weaving method up here. I didn't give this one a scalloped edge, and also then the colour scheme in the scarf is slightly different, but everything else is pretty much the same. And I think that's what I really like about this project, is that it's so adaptable. I think just by changing out a colour ever so slightly and changing sort of the colour you end up here with the colour you end up here in comparison, it just changes the hood completely and the look of it. As I was making this, I thought of this colour combination that I've been obsessed with for a really long time and that I luckily actually had the colours for. So I made a third one. So this one is a blue and red version, and for ages now I'd really loved this exact colour combo. When I was making this, I was kind of questioning myself. I was like, is this actually really ugly? Is this sort of giving circus? But then I did add a scalloped edge around this and continued it all the way along the scarf just to brighten up a little bit, and I think that really helped. And again, I am completely obsessed with this one as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of these because I won't be wearing them all of the time, so I don't know whether I'll do a drop on my shop, but then I feel like winter's over, people might not be that interested, and then if I do a drop, then I think I would make a few more colorways and different like versions, so I have a bit more going up on my shop. I don't know if people would be interested in that. Definitely let me know. I'm still really undecided on my plan. Otherwise I might just hold them back until the coming winter this year and might sell them then if I haven't really got that much wear out of it yet. Then very similar color scheme to that, again the same yarn. I think I have a lot of this lead of the pack yarn flying around at home, so that's why the majority of my projects this month have been with that, just to avoid buying, you know, a lot more yarn. I made this piece which originally was meant to be a headband, and again been eyeing that up for a really long time, but it just kind of felt like everything else had always taken priority. And then I was like, this is such a simple and quick thing to make, so yeah, I just whipped this up very quickly and I do really like it. I just think I went a bit too wide, so it's looking more like an ear warmer rather than a headband. And then equally, I have been like planning to wear more headbands recently, but I just don't think it works for my face at all. But then I realised I can just wear this as a scrunchie, so I think I will be doing that because I am completely obsessed with that colourway and I don't really want to get rid of it. I think it is so cute, and it also made me realise that I can just make scrunchies like that. I don't have to do the whole elastic thing. Obviously this isn't a functional scrunchie, but all of my scrunchies I have to put on top of an actual elastic band. I can't really wear scrunchies functionally. They pretty much always are just a decorative item that I add on. Then we have also from that same video this hat, and this was the bane of my life. It started off so well and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to share this pattern, this project with people, because it's a very much do it in a couple hours in the same day and you're done kind of thing. And it would have been if I hadn't been so undecided and I didn't really do like a swatch measurement. I kind of just went for it. I had to unravel it maybe 3 or 4 times to get it right, which was just really frustrating, but I also knew if I had just left it I would never ever wear it. So I'm glad I made all those changes and finally gave it a go. I'm not gonna know how much I love this hat until I actually have it in my wardrobe for a little bit, because I have a drawer with hats and I gravitate towards some more than I do to others because I am just so funny about my hats. So we're gonna see whether this becomes a staple. I do really like how it looks. I think it's really sweet and it's really warm, and I like that it's heavy. I think I do like a heavy hat that I don't have to worry about. Like once this is on my head, it's going to be on my head and my fringe is going to stay the same underneath. So I think time will tell. Time will tell whether this was a good project or a not so good project. My hair is just going to become more and more wild as this video goes on. Then we have a bit of a flop, maybe the only sort of flop from this month, and it is this piece, which was meant to be a wrap skirt. And look, I was taking a risk with that because I've never made a wrap skirt, I've never sewn a wrap skirt, so it was definitely a risky thing to try and do just based on construction, because I was trying to wrap my head around how to make a wrap skirt for ages, like how it was going to overline and how I was going to attach it in certain areas. So it was already quite hard and challenging, and then it just didn't turn out quite right. I have a tendency to make my pieces too small, so I think I was really aware of that, especially with it being a skirt. I would rather have had it made too big than it just simply not have enough fabric to cover my bum basically. But it just turned out way too big, so I do still have the option to take out a panel and see if that makes any difference, or I did say in the original video I could just wear it as a scarf. I think that's really cute. I do still need to then tie in all those loose ends, which honestly at this moment in time I can't be asked, so I threw this into my whips pile where it will most likely be forgotten about for the next 12 months. But that's fine, every now and again you have that project. But I'm glad I at least gave it a go, and just sort of got that idea out of my head. Who knows, maybe in the future I'll be able to attempt it again. I do really hope I have the motivation to at least try and take a panel out and see how that looks, because it might actually work. I don't know. Then the last finished project of this month I'm so proud of and I love so much is this sort of lacy ribbon vest, and it's just a very boxy jumper vest with slight ribbing at the bottom and around the arms and the hem, and then I attach these lace bows to the piece. So I knit this in a keyhole design, so these actually aren't functional bows, they're sewn down to the actual knitting, and this is how it looks from the back. So everything was sewn in a keyhole pattern just because I knew I wanted to make it a cardigan, and if I wear a cardigan I always button it up, so there was no point really in creating these functional bows, and I wanted to make sure that the bows sit how they sit here, so they were perfect basically. I found, especially over a striped top, I'm completely obsessed with how this looks. I definitely think in sort of the transitional period when it becomes a bit warmer and actually wearing my jumpers becomes unbearable, this is where this comes in so well, because it is a very chunky jumper type material, but it has sort of the keyhole details and the loose sleeves. I really hope this year I overcome my embarrassment and my fear of wearing my pieces out, because I put this on literally on Monday to wear it to the office, and I was like, I'm gonna rock it because I'm obsessed with this project. I don't know, you know, I love it. This genuinely feels so much like me, and I put this whole outfit together and I was just about to walk out the door and I got scared. I convinced myself that it was really ugly and people would think I was really weird and it would be really obvious that I had made it myself, so that was really embarrassing. So I literally took that off and replaced it with one of my jumpers from H&M that I've had for years, and I was so annoyed with myself because honestly I should have just worn this. No one would have cared and it would have looked so much better. So definitely a goal for 2024, but I don't know how successful I'm going to be in that. Then sort of an unfinished project, which I don't really know when I'm actually ever going to finish it, but it is the Benny scarf, I think that's what it's called, from Wool and Gang, and they sent me this, which is really, really sweet. Their pattern is really easy to read, their yarn is really nice. I just get so bored going back and forth, but I do really need to crack on with it because I think the finished piece will be amazing and I'm gonna get so much wear out of it. I really want to wear it as like a head scarf. I think that would be so cute, like wrap the triangle around your head and then fold it over and do the tie at the back. People have been doing that with their balaclavas or their bonnets and I'm just obsessed with that, so I really want to try and finish it. I think I said in one of my vlogs that I was going to finish it by the end of the month. It's now the 28th of Feb, so that's definitely not gonna happen. And that is literally everything that I made in Feb. I'm honestly so chuffed. I think there was a couple things that need a bit of adjusting that I'm not like 100% with, but everything else, the vests and the hoods, literally obsessed with it. And then if I'm thinking about why those things are more successful than the other pieces, it's the chunky yarn, 100%. All of those things, apart from the purple vest, they're all using the leader of the pack yarn, and then the yarn that I use for the purple vest is very, very similar to that. So definitely something to keep in mind, that is probably just what I'm more drawn to, and it makes sense because the knitwear that I buy from shops that I've had for years and years and years, they all have that chunky yarn. So one thing to keep in mind for future projects. And then I think the oversized element is also really important. The hoods are really big, they're not snug around my face, they sit quite big like a real sort of jumper hood. The vests are fairly boxy, they're fairly square, and that is something I always knew that I preferred and was more drawn to, but 100% I'm going to make that a priority for any upcoming projects, just to make them big and boxy. And I have yet to have the problem of something being too big, and I'm more likely to have a problem with something being too small. So I think that's just a nice thing to keep in mind to reassure myself when I'm working on a new project and I'm worried about maybe my measurements being too big, to not worry about that because I'll probably prefer it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some inspo. Let me know what you made in Feb. What are your favourite projects? I'd love to hear. I will see you in the next video. Bye.